I don't think I like Pikmin 4. Now, before anybody murders me, let me explain. It's crazy to say this because I love the series. I'm a very new Pikmin fan. I played all the games for the first time in preparation for 4. I think Pikmin 1 and 3 are absolute masterpieces. Pikmin 2 I'm not nearly as big of a fan of. I think Hey Pikmin is better than it, but even so, 2 is nowhere near a bad game. I definitely just lost a lot of people by saying, hey, Pikmin is better than Pikmin 2, but whatever, we're just gonna keep going. When I played Pikmin 4 for the first time, it was fun and it's definitely a good game, but something about it never felt right to me. And over time, I've come to realize that I don't really like it. I think Pikmin 4 is a good game, but not a good Pikmin game. I've had this bitterness inside of me over Pikmin 4 ever since I finished playing the game, and I think it's time that I finally release all that bitterness into a video about it. I've made a negative video about the game before, but it never really felt satisfactory to me, so I guess I'm just gonna try again. I don't like Pikmin 4, and here's why. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Pikmin 4 retcons the entire series for no reason. Nintendo isn't really known for its stories, but Pikmin, unlike something like Mario, would have each game build off what came before, not just in the gameplay department like you would think, but also story-wise. Pikmin 4 said fuck that and reset the entire series. There are a ton of different theories that Pikmin 4 is a different universe version of the events of the first game, or it takes place before Pikmin 3, or something, and maybe I don't understand whatever the hell 5D chess Nintendo is playing here, but it's really goddamn stupid. There was absolutely no reason to do this. Even ignoring the whole retconning thing, the story of Pikmin 4 isn't even that good. It's really cool how they decided to build off the bad ending of the first game, but it feels kind of underwhelming. Olimar becoming the main antagonist of the game is a really cool idea, but the game barely does anything with it. Pikmin has never really had an antagonist before, besides Louie. But yeah, you really just play an organization minigame with him a few times, and that's about it. Why the hell do these furries even like Dandori so much anyway? This one furry says that he doesn't want to go back to normal, which is kind of messed up when you think about it. Like his entire family is going to be out there looking for him, and we just decided not to fix him because in his brainwashed state he said he didn't want to. Anyway, the story of the game is really just go rescue a bunch of people, which is fine. Pikmin has never really had the most grandiose story, but it feels like it could have been more. Also, after the credits roll, there's a post-game story like in Pikmin 2 where everybody goes to leave the planet, only to find out they can't because a dog is sick and everybody is just okay with staying on a dangerous planet for extra long just so they can save one dog. I love dogs as much as the next guy, but that's really goddamn stupid. None of the new characters in this game are interesting in the slightest. They're all just really annoying, a few make me uncomfortable, and I want to murder all of them. And while we were talking about the dog, let's talk about Ochi. No joke, when I played the game for the first time, I accidentally called him Poochie on several occasions. I don't like what Ochi does to the game as a Pikmin game. The game feels like it's more about him than the Pikmin. For a one-game thing, I guess he's fine, although I say that with the utmost annoyance and reluctance. But if he becomes a series mainstay, I will hate him. The fact that Pikmin 4 is even capable of making me think of the idea of hating a dog is disgraceful. Actually, ramming into most enemies in the game with Ochi leads to most of their deaths pretty easily anyway, so maybe I should just hate him. This leads me into another thing with the game, is that it's way too easy. Now this was a problem with Pikmin 3, but Pikmin 3 got so much of all the other things I love about the Pikmin series right, so I still love Pikmin 3. And the Deluxe port even added a hard mode. I definitely think it could have been harder, but at least it was something. Pikmin 4, on the other hand, is painfully easy for 95% of the game. It's hard to platinum the Dandori challenges, but I don't care about those. The last cave in the game is hard, and that's about it for the main game. I miss how in the older Pikmin games, the game would completely fuck you over if you weren't careful. Oh yeah, Anochi can do almost everything a Pikmin can do, but better, which makes the game even more about him than the Pikmin. I have never tried this hard to not hate a dog before. The Pikmin themselves have problems in 4. Some types feel like they are completely underutilized and are only in the game because every other Pikmin is in the game. This applies to types like the Wing Pikmin and White Pikmin. But they didn't even add Bulbmin into the game, even though literally everybody loves Bulbmin. Where the fuck is he, Nintendo? In this game, when you're throwing Pikmin at an object so the Pikmin can carry it, the game will stop you after you reach the required amount of Pikmin. Now, this could be seen as a quality of life improvement, since in other games, you could throw too much Pikmin onto an object, and it could be kind of annoying sometimes, but honestly, that's just kind of a skill issue. Micromanaging your Pikmin is kind of the whole point of the series. This would be a fine addition if there was an option to turn it off, but Nintendo hates options, so that isn't here. You can only have 3 types of Pikmin out on the field at a time too, which feels especially stupid. If there was going to be a limit, it should have been 5. You can have 5 types out at a time in Pikmin 2 and 3. Why is the max 3 here? You also don't start off with being able to have 100 Pikmin anymore. Instead, you have to work your way up to being able to have 100, which just feels like a very unnecessary change. The game also tells you what Pikmin to use in each area. For the caves, I think this is fine, but for the main areas, it kind of ruins any sense of exploration, because you already know what you need. One thing that everyone seems to hate about this game is the lock-on. In all of the previous games, it was up to you to make sure your Pikmin would land exactly where you wanted it to after you would throw it, but this lock-on feature completely trivializes everything. If it was an option you could turn off and on, it wouldn't be a problem, but it's not. One of the most intriguing mysteries of the Pikmin series was the night on PNF 404. In all of the previous Pikmin games, we would have to leave the planet before nighttime because it was said to be far too dangerous and there were a ton of dangerous nocturnal creatures. I always wondered what it would be like to explore the planet during night, and I'm sure a bunch of other people did too. What kind of horrible monsters would emerge? Well, Pikmin 4 finally gave us a night mode. Too bad it sucks! Okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic. It's really just a protect the tower minigame, and it's fun enough, I guess, but it's not what anybody wanted from a night mode. I only did like 3 night missions. They're not interesting at all, and they don't even feel that dangerous. The hardest part of the night missions isn't trying not to die, it's making sure the glow Pikmin's homes don't get destroyed. This is why we had to leave the planet in all the other games. This is it. Talk about lame. It's also really annoying that if you choose to do a night mission, it wastes the entire day for some reason. That doesn't even make any sense. Why not give us the choice to do a night mission after we return from exploring the day? The caves returned in this game, and I, for one, did not want them back. I really didn't like them in the second game, especially because of how much bullshit they would throw at you in that game. I don't want to explore a dingy underground area when I could be exploring the lush, beautiful overworld. The caves aren't nearly as bad as they were in 2, but I still don't like them. They're just worse than the overworld in like every way to me. And the one thing I really like them about 2 is how they all ended in a unique boss fight. But every cave in 4 doesn't end with a unique boss fight for some reason. So they got rid of the one thing I really liked about them in 2, which sucks. The boss fights in Pikmin 3 were these absolutely phenomenal spectacles, and I was all there for it. Pikmin 3 by far has the best fights in the series, so for those to not return in 4 is pretty disappointing. Probably the most infamous part of Pikmin 4 is the first few hours where none of the characters will shut the fuck up or let you do anything without interrupting you 20 times. Thing is, that continues even after the first few hours. Only difference is that the game doesn't stop every 2 seconds. The game never lets you breathe. It's always telling you about something. Instead of sound cues whenever a task is completed, like in all the other games, it's a block of text that appears right in the middle of the screen. Now this would be fine as an accessibility thing, and I think that would be a good thing, but it shouldn't be forced. It should be an option. Even during the fucking final boss, the characters never shut the fuck up. I remember this being especially bad in all of the night missions, where the characters would just repeat the same thing over and over again. By the later hours of the game, it was driving me insane. Like, seriously, what are all of these guys even doing back at base? Are they just standing around the communicator waiting to tell me things I already know? And can we just talk about how awful this game's hub world is? This is it. It's a glorified menu. A menu would have been better. This is just sad. People just stand around. It's completely devoid of life, which is ironic because 4 has the most life in the entire series because everybody and their mother decides to land on the planet, even though the entire point of PNF 404 is that it's supposed to be a desolate planet. One of my favorite things about the past Pikmin games was the post-apocalypse Earth setting. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. The Pikmin world just felt so entrancing to me, so beautiful even though it was on the remnants of a human life after a nuclear war, and what was once was lying around. It just works so well. Even Hey Pikmin had this. Hey Pikmin is the only game in the series not to take place on Earth. It takes place on a completely different post-apocalypse planet, which they never bothered to name, which really annoys me. And I have a lot of questions about there being another post-apocalypse Earth lore-wise. but Pikmin 4 retconned the entire series anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Anyway, Earth in Pikmin 4 doesn't feel like a post-apocalypse Earth anymore. It just feels like you're little people on Earth. You go inside somebody's house and it's nice and shiny and clean, so it just feels like you're exploring somebody's house while they're on vacation. If the house had been overgrown with vegetation and was falling apart, that would have been rad as hell. But no, they didn't do that because this game just hates me for some reason. All of the beautiful melancholy whimsy of exploring this enchanting post-apocalypse world is just gone. I also really dislike how they put Dandori battles into the main game when they really should have just been relegated to side modes. I absolutely love Bingo Battle from Pikmin 3, but it would have been really weird if at some points randomly in the story the game decides the captains need to start playing bingo with their Pikmin for some reason. And one massive problem with the game, well, we're already on massive problems, but I feel like a lot of my problems with this game are massive ones, but whatever. The overworld enemies don't respawn after you kill them.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Pikmin has always had this naturalistic feeling to it. In the previous games, whenever you kill an enemy, they would stay gone for a while, but it would only be a matter of time before a beast of the same species would take its spot. That's thrown out the window in 4. The way I found this out was when I went to go fight some enemies in an area I had already completed just for fun, but when I went back there, I noticed that all of them were still dead. Pikmin 4 feels the most gamey in the entire series. In the other Pikmin games, there would always be a reason for something. The world felt like it could be real. That's one of the things I love about the series so much. Pikmin 4 completely lacks this. Why are there these random floating drones inside of the house? Why are there these random rock cult formations all over the place where you land? I don't know, but the game doesn't seem to care. There is no day limit in Pikmin 4 either, so the night and day system is completely pointless because all it does is force you to sit through a bunch of loading screens just to go right back to where you were. This was also a problem in Pikmin 2, except it's way worse in 4 because the loading takes longer. Let's just go through a bunch of smaller type stuff now. It's lame how bomb rocks aren't a part of the world anymore and they're just items you can buy. It doesn't randomly start raining anymore like it did in 3, which was a fantastic touch. The puff stool doesn't make Puffman anymore, even though that's the only reason people like the puff stool, so I don't even know why they bothered bringing him back. In the first game, when you would kill a Pearly Clam Clamp, its body would still move even after dying, which was really weird and cool, but that doesn't happen anymore in 4. It feels like they shoved so much stuff into this game from the previous ones that they didn't put a lot of love and care into some of them. The Smoky Prog is back, and he was terrifying in the first game, but he's a complete joke in Pikmin 4. He shows up in the final cave in the main game, and I beat him in 10 seconds. I've heard he's better in the night missions, but again, I don't care about those, so I never got to see him there. Something new to the Series 4 added was a custom character, and I don't think that works for Pikmin. All of the games are pretty character-focused. Pikmin may not have the most grandiose story or anything, but its characters are filled to the brim with personality, or at least they were before 4. As stated before, I want to murder every character in Pikmin 4, but we've already covered that. At least the main character could have been interesting, but they're a self-insert custom character, so they don't talk. It also doesn't help that the customization options are pretty limited. You can't even choose a normal hair color. Enemies like the Emperor Bulblax and Smoky Prog will let out a roar that will scatter your Pikmin, and it was kind of cool the first couple times, but then they kept doing it, and now I just hate whenever they do that move because it's just really annoying. Also, the Leaflings aren't supposed to remember who they were before they were turned into Leaflings, or at least I think that's supposed to be implied, but for some reason after you beat Olimar for the final time, he suddenly remembers everything, which just feels like it contradicts everything, but whatever. The Pikmin 4 logo also sucks. They completely got rid of all of the personality out of it. Why did they change it? The old logo was great. Whatever. Pikmin 4 also has the worst soundtrack in the series. It's not bad, but I don't remember a single piece of music from the game, except for the title theme and a vague remembrance of the final boss theme. I also don't think Pikmin 4 is that replayable. I don't know if it's like that for everyone else, but I haven't wanted to replay it once since finishing it. I know a lot of this stuff is smaller, but this stuff adds up. And this is on top of the big problems I've already mentioned, but I think that about does it. I keep hearing people say that Pikmin 4 is the perfect Pikmin game, and the best in the entire series, but I don't understand that at all. And I know it's not nostalgia making me feel this way because I played all the games back to back for the first time like a year ago. I had fun playing Pikmin 4. I don't think it's a bad game, but I feel like it's missing so much of that Pikmin charm and magic that every other game in the series has. I'm sure that makes me sound like a Satanist to some Pikmin fans, but that's just how I feel. Pikmin 4 feels like the complete opposite of what the series even is. It feels anti-Pikmin. Hey Pikmin feels way more like a Pikmin game than 4 does, and that's just sad. The reason I'm so much more lenient with Hey Pikmin is because it's a spin-off. It's not supposed to be looked at as a mainline game. 4 is a mainline Pikmin game, and it's awful at being a Pikmin game, so I'm not going to hold back on it. The reason I say I don't think I like Pikmin 4 is because I don't want to dislike it, but the more and more I think about the game, the more I realize how flawed it is, and the more I dislike it. I really hope the next game in the series isn't like 4 at all. I genuinely do not understand how so many Pikmin fans like Pikmin 4 so much, but I'm glad they were able to enjoy it so much. But for me personally, Pikmin 4 is not a Pikmin game, and it never will be.